Alright.
Over here, mate.
Hello, and welcome to the channel. I'm Zalman, and this here is my web series where I rant about various topics and play Ark. Kind of want to give a little bit of an update of what I've been doing before I get into anything. Although, as always, if you are enjoying the content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And please comment and let me know what you think. I'm trying different things out, longer format, shorter format. Excuse me, and yeah, just let me know what you like, any topics you want to see, any content that you're looking that you'd be interested in, and we'll go from there. Anyways, yeah, welcome. Today, the main topic I'm going to get into is kind of a minimum wage. It's kind of a topic that's kind of close to my heart. It's something I have personally dealt with kind of my whole life, so I definitely have a bit of a perspective on it, I would think. But before I do, like I say, I want to talk about kind of what I've been doing lately. On this one, on my PvE here, I haven't actually gotten too much done. It's kind of been where it's more or less been since the web series started. I do almost have my base built on the island for PvE as well. But then otherwise, I did a little bit of PvP. Although that just ended up, the first day I did it was fun, and we ran into a person, but otherwise it's didn't work out, and I just kind of moved on from there. And last night I was given hardcore a shot. I think I might stick with the hardcore, and after today's episode, I actually do intend on going over and streaming some of the hardcore. Which, for those who don't know, hardcore, what makes hardcore is normally in Ark, death is a part of it. That's how you learn. Hardcore, you don't want to die. If you die, you lose everything. You go right back to level 1, you have to remake your character entirely from the get-go, right? You lose your base, you lose your tames. Like, and yeah, but I figure it might be make for different content, so yeah, I'm gonna go give that a try. Give that a shot. I'll be playing it a bit more safe so far. I've kind of been going. I think I'm gonna build myself a boat and kind of go that route, get some early tames, and try to always keep myself overly safe, which will make it kind of slower going, but. We'll see. But anyways, yeah, for today's topic, minimum wage. Like I say, it's something that I've dealt with. I've worked in kitchens my whole life. Well, not my whole life, I'm sorry. I'm kind of overstating that. But I've been working as a cook now for for a little around 20 years. I think 21 years. Yeah, 21 years. Wow. But anyways, when I started, kitchens for the food service industry itself is an industry that really runs off of minimum wage. It always has. Now, for that used to be it used to be a lot of entry level positions. There was a lot of positions like you'd have like 5 to 10 kids, like you know, like literally kids, like 13 to 16 years old kids, that like 5 to 10 people of that age group working for you. But because they are kids, well, these are people that you're literally having to train to push a broom, and they're people who don't actually have bills to pay. So it works for everyone that they can be paid a minimum wage, a lesser wage, right? They're fine getting extra. They're fine just making some extra money to go and spend on whatever, because they don't have any bills. It's all expendable money for a kid. All taxes are returned for those under 18, and at least here in Canada. I'm not sure about other countries, but so like, and it really like, but now I went from when I started. And when I started in the industry, minimum wage had already risen up quite a bit. And when I went to school, I was given the same story that everybody is taught in school. That rah-rah unions, they worked for the lesser man and got minimum wage for the poor. Yay! Only that's not the whole story. That's, of course, what the teachers' union would want you to think, but that's not the way it works. For really, if you want to know what the way minimum wage works, I'm telling you, go look up Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman is the guy the economist who knew what he was talking about, and it still is entirely relevant today. Like, he is the person to listen to, but like I say, I've lived it myself. And like I say, when I started, minimum wage here in Alberta was around $10. I think it was like $10.50. I started at minimum wage. I started as a kid. Well, I wasn't quite a kid, but you know, I started as a kid, not really needing so much money, and I worked my way up. Over a decade, I put my nose to the grindstone. I learned. I became better and more consistent in my cooking, being able to produce more food faster, like say, consistently. And it's short order cook, right? So, like, yeah. Every day's a little different, but at the same time, it's all a pattern. I don't know. It's high stress, though. It's a very high stress. But at any rate, yeah, when I started, it was $10. Then a few years back, they decided that they were going to increase minimum wage from $10 to $15. We want and the thing that you constantly hear about it is a living wage. Look, minimum wage isn't supposed to be a living wage. Plus, minimum, like, people don't understand the way economies work, the way a minimum. The honest truth about a minimum wage is that no matter what you actually go and set the minimum wage at, the true minimum wage is always going to be zero. And when you actually increase minimum wage, all you're saying is that a person needs to be able to produce this much amount of worth of work, or they're worthless. We can't even take them on. That's actually eliminating jobs. And like I say, I've seen it firsthand myself in the food service industry. All the kitchens in town, my town, all of them, and I've either worked at all of them or I have inside info on them. Like, I might not work, but I know the people who do work, and they all are essentially the same. And you went from 10 to 15 people, 15-man kitchens to 5-man kitchens. You know, there's no bus boys, there's no dishwashers, there's no prep cooks. All of that disappeared because minimum wage. You know, I put in a decade where I grinded myself up from being a minimum wage worker up to $15 an hour, and actually I made it up to 18. And then all of a sudden I became essentially a minimum wage worker. In fact, the job I'm working right now is minimum wage. Now, to make up for the fact that, like, my job is actually technically worth more than minimum wage, but because you can't, you literally can't afford it and make money, like, yeah. People, like, I don't know, you need to understand the way minimum wage works. It hurts. And like I say, all these kitchens, like, now you don't have these entry-level positions. Now to be a cook, like, you need to be able to cook to begin with. You know, I can't take a new person who has never cooked in their life is not worth the same as what I'm worth. And right now, I'm worth minimum wage. because they made minimum wage increase 50% in 5 years. I think it was 4 years, but yeah. Oh. And it literally hurts. And then the cost of everything goes up. So it's like you knock all these jobs out. All these kids now aren't able to get jobs because it's not worth an employer's to take the risk. It's not worth $15 an hour when I need to show these kids how to sweep a floor. Like when they don't even know the basics, when they have no skills and I'm having to work, they're not worth 15. They're not. I'm sorry. And you can, and a person can hate on me for having said that, but the fact is that's not my opinion. That's what the market will show you. Go look. Like I say, if it wasn't that way, well, then you'd still have all these dishwashers. You'd still have these busboys. You'd still have hostesses. You don't have that anymore. Why? Because minimum wage. It eliminated jobs. It took jobs away from the unskilled, from the underprivileged. It literally hurt the very people that it's purported to supposedly help. And it's one of those, I don't impugn the intentions of the people behind minimum wage. I get the intention. It's well meaningful. But the results are wrong. But the results are negative. Like, the results actually are counterproductive. So, get rid of it. What's the right minimum wage? 0. You know what? Know your own worth. Right? There are times when it is worth it to you to just be able to go work and learn, even if it means you get no money to do it. But hey, you're at least getting to learn, right? You're getting on-job learning. Now, I wouldn't say there's a lot, but it's all about knowing your own worth. If you're worth more, then then don't take less. Right? Oh, what time are we at? Anyways. Oh, wow, we still have lots of time. Well, let's go breed, I think. I think I can breed. Yeah, you're ready. Oh, you're an hour off. Oh. You're ready. You're ready. Okay. Oh, there we go. Enable maybe. Let's turn you off. That's right here. You still need an hour. But yeah, no, like minimum wage. And like I say, like I've seen it firsthand. Like it didn't raise me up. It made it so that it took jobs away. It took my help away. It made it so that I have to work harder for the same amount of money. And now everything is more expensive for me to live. Like, while your intention may have been to help me, the actual results of those policies is it literally hurt me. Like I'm actually the target demographic. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm telling you, as the target demographic, this hurt me. It didn't help me. Like, like, yeah, when minimum wage is a bar that the rest of the economy works off of, okay? So when you start just rapidly messing with it, all you're doing is forcing the rest of the economy to adjust to it. So that the value of that is still going to be the same, while the end value of it is still going to be the same as what it was to begin with, only you're causing a whole bunch of turmoil within the economy itself, which is costing a bunch of jobs and, like, overall hurting the economy, possibly causing recessions. Like, there's no positive here. No positive. Other than to your unions. Increasing minimum wage restricts overall labor, which increases job security and wages for union workers. It's all a scam. At the end of the day, if you actually think it through, and like I say, I don't think most of the people who support minimum wage are pro-union. You know what I mean? I don't think they're doing it to support unions. I think they're doing it to support poor. They just don't understand that the only ones it's helping is union. It doesn't actually help poor. You're taking jobs away from poor people. You're taking job opportunities and entry-level positions away from people. Because that was the thing too, right? Like, okay, yeah, I started minimum wage, but I worked my way up. And until the government decided overnight that they were going to take all of my gains away from me, I was doing good. I was like, yay, I'm doing all right. I worked my way up. A high school dropout with nothing, and like, essentially I was a failure to launch type individual, and like, I just by holding a job had worked my way ahead until government intervention decided to slam my head against the wall while telling me that it's for my own good. That's what raising minimum wage is. And this is one, like, I want to have a dialogue. I want people to understand, and I really, you need to understand. Like, I get you want to help people with minimum wage, but you're not helping them. You're literally hurting them. Literally. Stop it. If you really want to help them, stop it. Don't do it. You're not helping. It doesn't help. Yeah, no. I just want, like, I totally get the intention is good for most people, and even for unions. It's not that it's bad that they're wanting it for unions. You know what I mean? Very few people even on, like, I don't know. I don't think too many people really have bad intention about it. That's one of the things I liked about Milton Friedman too, is he is that very understanding type person too, right? He really stays away from putting bad intentions to people. It's like, is the policies good or bad? It isn't about a person's intentions. People can have very good intentions or bad intentions, and have the opposite effect. The road to hell is paved in good intentions, and that is like super true. Like, that is a very true proverb. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on one's outlook, I suppose. I really need to hatch this. Yeah, I don't know. I wish, yeah, I just wish people could understand that it hurts. You cost jobs, you throw there really is. There's no positive, really. It's all negative. It's just for a select few that ends up working out. It's like, how some people can profit off of war, right? Like, war in of itself is just a very costly, wasteful thing across the board. But there are a select few that can actually leverage it for profit, right? That doesn't mean that that it's good, but that's essentially what happens with minimum wage, and it's in that unions are the ones that benefit. But like I say, it's sold to people, especially because it's literally taught in schools that it's a raw, like, if it wasn't for, like, you really need to have critical thinking and look into the stuff to come out. Like, no wonder so many people come out Marxists, man. Again, and there is, like, a lot of your teenagers and whatnot, they're coming out very socialist, Marxist type, and it's like, are you really not taught just the last century's history? Like, you don't even need to go into deep history. Just the last century shows you example after example of how communism, Marxism, socialism is bad. That isn't that you can't have some socialist policies, but even there, that's a balancing act. You can only have so much socialist policy on a capitalist society before the economy collapses. And so, like, that's a very precarious balance. And it's one of those, it's really kind of best to stay out of it, because it's one of those, no matter what you do, you're going to have people fall through the cracks. No matter what system you put up, no matter, there's always going to be, and unfortunately it's those ones that fall through the cracks, those are the ones that the arguments are made for, right? It's like, okay, you're right. If we do nothing, there's going to be these ones that fall through the cracks because we do nothing. You're right. But even if we do something, okay, then there's going to be these people who are still falling through the cracks, only we're spending tremendous amounts of money and still having people fall through the cracks. You know what I mean? And it is one of those diminishing returns kind of thing. Like, I can understand a small investment initially, but the problem is, while a slippery slope is a logical fallacy, and it's one of those thoughts that, one of those things you don't, this is kind of a slippery slope type situation where it's like a little bit is okay, but it's power corrupts, and I don't want to set the precedent of allowing it in the first place, because then that allows the precedents for it to be allowed further in the future. You know what I mean? The goalposts are, you're making that allowance for the goalpost to be changed in the future. You know what I'm saying? Like, and in this example, like, historically, we can see that it if you allow it, it happens. You know? So, like, where do you draw a line? Where do you draw a line? I think you draw a line right at the beginning. Right? Cut it as soon as you can. It's, and then, you know, charity kicks in, and charity really does kick in because people fall through the cracks, and hearts bleed for those ones that fall through the cracks, and there are people with money whose hearts bleed for those who fall through, and so, like, charity does actually kick in if people don't have a government to rely on to supply that help. You know what I'm saying? And because with charity, it's people's own money, and it's donated money, people are very appreciative of that money and are a lot more careful with that money. That money is invested much more wisely in helping whatever it's supposed to help. I mean, I'm very libertarian. Like, government sucks at everything it does, but there are certain things that you need a government for, but you really should limit it to that. Like, what you need a government for, that's what you have a government for, and cut it. I understand wanting a safety net. I totally get it. But the fact of the matter is no matter what kind of safety net you create, there will always be people who will fall through the cracks. Like, allow freedom. And freedom isn't just freedom to succeed, it's also freedom to fail. And freedom to fail is very important, because if you really want to succeed in this life, you're going to have to fail. And you're going to have to fail a lot. And you're going to have to learn how to pick yourself up and keep going. I didn't get where I was without failure. And, you know, I might not be the greatest ever. But in my town, in my field, I'm good. I know I have a job. I have all the hours I could want, even when times are tough. I just need government to screw off for a few more years, and I can start getting ahead. But like I say, like when government puts that minimum wage up, that's what causes a big turmoil within the economy. Then everything keeps bouncing off of each other, adjusting to make it work out. So, oh, there's our timer. Although we can go longer, but I think that's kind of a good one. But yeah, I don't know. Minimum wage, man. People need to leave it alone. Minimum wage is always going to be zero, no matter what you do. You know what? Let people hire kids for $12 an hour or $13 an hour, even $10 an hour, man. Like, really? You're talking about kids who don't even know how to push a broom being asked to push a broom or wash dishes, wash counters, basic stuff. You know, peel potatoes and carrots. But all of it shuts down the moment you start raising minimum wage up, because you can't afford them kids anymore. You can't. They're not worth it. They're not worth having in the kitchen anymore. Let communities be communities. Let people be people. Because I mean, you gotta understand, like, people, it's not slavery. If what a person offers you isn't enough for the job, then you're free to ask for more. You're free to leave. You're free to go to the next guy down the street who is paying more. You know what I mean? Like, there's no need for governments to get involved in that. What a person gets paid is an agreement between an employer and the employee, and government has no place in that so long as the two parties are in agreement. You know, like, oh, they need a job. Okay, but they can go down the street. They don't need this job. Sure, they need a job, but they don't need this job, so they don't need to take this money. So no, it's not a power imbalance. You're worth what you're worth, and what determines that? It isn't what the employer. It's what the market decides. Why? Because it is that deal. If this employer is legitimately not paying enough for his staff, well, then he's never going to keep enough staff. He's never going to be able to keep staff on to keep fully staffed, to give proper service and proper food or whatever the situation for that business happens to be. And they're going to go bankrupt. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna have to compete to get the quality staff and to maintain the quality staff, or they're gonna go under. They need to, and the market determines that. There's no need for government to get involved. The only need in there is for a person to know their own worth. And I'm sorry, if you're a kid with no skills, you don't really know how to sweep a floor. Like, you've done a little bit at home, but it's a little bit at home, right? It's your parents kind of made you, but you're not very good at it. Yeah. No, well then you're not worth a whole lot, are you? This job is worth more to you than you are to the job. But that's where raises used to come in. But you don't get raises anymore. You'll go like, it used to be every year a person would be given a small raise based on their work, right? Certain places made it about station work, right? Once you master so many stations or whatever, you'd get a raise for each station, kind of thing, and then a final big raise when you know all stations. But yeah, generally you used to get like raises like every year, and now you will go years without a raise. Like In fact, you really, in those low minimum wage style jobs, you don't expect a raise. Period. You expect a raise when you get for promotions. And even there, you're not expecting a whole lot. That's what raising minimum wage has done. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, you know, like even those people, like, you know, once you knew what you were doing and whatnot, you weren't making minimum wage. You were making the $15 an hour. Only back then, because minimum wage was like the $10 an hour, $15 an hour actually meant something. Now, sure, you're making the $15 an hour, but it's minimum wage, so you technically have less value. And you're not going to get no raises because everybody is making this amount of money and the business has to make up for that somehow. You know, like, yeah. Best to just leave it alone. But anyways, let me know what you think. Comment, let me know. And yeah, remember, like, share, subscribe. This is Zelma signing out. See ya.